Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly direct your attention this way as our event is about to commence. We kindly request all attendees to enable their cameras and mute their microphones to ensure the smooth progression of today's proceedings. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Brawijaya International Conference of Business Administration, Taxation, and Tourism 2023, with the theme Driving Business Creativity Through Harnessing Disruptive Technology, Opportunities and Challenges. This event is organized by the Department of Business Administration, Faculty of Administrative Science, Universitas Brawijaya. Once again, it is an honor to me, Elizabeth Leonie, as a Master of Ceremony for today's conference, to inform you that among us here we have respected our invited speakers for Day-2, Professor Nur Ismawati Japar from Department of Decision Science, University Malaya, Malaysia, Associate Professor Nila Firdausi Nuzula from Department of Business Administration, Universitas Brawijaya, Indonesia, Professor Dr. Yuli Suseno, Deputy of Dian Learning and Teaching, College of Business and Law, RMIT University, Australia, and all distinguished guests and all the participants of BICBATT 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, all the guests and audiences, preceding our main agenda today, we will hear presentation for some keynote speakers led by moderator. Before we move to the main agenda, let me introduce our moderator for today. Today's moderator is Ibu Siva Arsyanda, SPN, MTax. Ibu Siva is a lecturer assistant at the Faculty of Administrative Science. She is a Master of Taxation, graduated from University of Sydney.
MC nggak dengar. MC nggak dengar. Wifi-nya.
Yes. Okay, so we are really sorry for the unstable connection. I'll continue. Okay, so I'll continue. Ibu Siva is a lecturer assistant at the Faculty of Administrative Science. She is a Master of Taxation, graduated from University of Sydney, Australia. Who is passionate in tax research. Her bachelor degree was in Universitas Brawijaya, majoring in taxation, organizational skills and teamwork, communication, and time management. She had finished her bachelor degree of taxation in Universitas Brawijaya and her master degree of taxation in the University of Sydney. Here are some of the experiences and achievements that have been attained by Ibu Siva. Lecturer Assistant at Faculty of Administrative Sciences, Lecturer Assistant at Fac Study of Administrative Science, LPDP Awardee 2019 Master of Taxation in University of Sydney, and the best graduating student of the Faculty of Administrative Science 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ibu Siva Arsyanda, SPN MTax.
Okay, thank you so much for the time, Elizabeth. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the second day of Brawijaya International Conference on Business Administration, Taxation and Tourism, BICBATT 2023. My name is Siva Arsyanda, and I'm going to be the moderator today. To give you an overview what we will be discussing today, we will be covering the big theme of this event, which is driving business creativity through harnessing disruptive technology, opportunities, and challenges. As we know that innovations in business models are essential for organizations to remain competitive in today's rapidly changing business landscape. One area of innovation is in the use of artificial intelligence, AI, and machine learning, ML, in business models. So disruptive technologies and emerging trends are driving many innovations, creating new opportunities and challenges for businesses. Okay, before we start, let me quickly go over today's agenda. We will begin with a brief introduction of our every and each three speakers, followed by their presentation on various topics under the theme for approximately 20 minutes. And at the end of all three presentations, we will have a 5 minutes, 15 minutes, a question and answer session for all speakers. Throughout the seminar, we encourage you to take notes and hold on to any question you might have until the end. And we will aim to answer as many questions as possible during the allocated Q&A time. So for your information, our audience are lecturers, researchers, and also students. So it's quite a various background. Okay, thank you for your attention. Now it's time to hear from our first speaker. But before that, I'm going to read her profile first. Okay, Professor Dr. Nur Ismawati binti Ja'far is a professor at the Faculty of Business and Economics, University Malaya. She was the Deputy Dean for Research for 4 years prior to the merger between the Faculty of Business and Accountancy and the Faculty of Economics and Administration. And then for the experiences, a member of Association for Information System, AIS, and then also lectures Accounting Information System at the undergraduate level and the Management Information System for postgraduates. She has so far led 9 research projects out of 21 with a total grant amount of 1.5 million Malaysian ringgit. And she has been appointed as a consultant and also led a few number of consultancies involving national projects such as National Broadband Initiative. And then also for her expertise are in IT governance, IT management, human-computer interaction, and social media adoption. And also she has a lot of publications, awards, memberships, and also administrative duties. So please join me in welcoming Professor Dr. Nur Ismawati binti Ja'far. Good morning, Professor Dr. Nur.
Good morning, Shifa. Thank you very much for the introduction.
Thank you so much. So for Professor Dr. Nur, time is yours.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to everyone who is present in today's session. You can call me Prof. Isma. As what Shifa mentioned just now, I am from the Faculty of Business and Economics, University Malaya. So I'm going to present today's topic, Okay, let me just share my screen with you first and let me know if it doesn't work, yeah? Okay, my topic for today is humanizing technology, where science meets art halfway. But before I begin, I would like to thank the organizing committee of Faculty of Administrative Science, Universitas Brawijaya, for inviting me to be one of the panelists for today's session. Thank you very much for the invitation, and I'm actually honored to be here with all of you today. Okay. Now, coming back to the topic of my presentation today, it's about how we actually make full use of technology. We call it humanizing technology, which is a combination of both science and also arts. Yeah. So to begin with, I have a video to share with all of you. Please let me know if the sound doesn't come out, yeah, because I had the same problem last week. Let's watch this for a while.
How does technology improve our lives? The Technology Zone. Most of the things people use every day are technology. Examples of technology include pencils, bikes, light bulbs, clothes, and cooking food. Technology doesn't have to be complex or require electricity. But technology must meet a human need. The way people meet needs changes with time. In pioneer days, food was prepared in a fireplace, so heavy pans were needed. Today, people can use plastic dishes to cook in microwave ovens. The need to prepare food hasn't changed, but the way people prepare food has. Meeting people's needs. Technology changes over time in response to people's needs. In the 1800s, long-distance communication could take weeks or months. The need for reliable communication increased as people moved west. As needs increase, new technologies develop faster. Technology risks and benefits. Technology can have positive and negative effects. Positive effects, or benefits, are ways that technology fills a need. Negative effects are risks. This might include constant changes to technology or technology's negative impact on the environment. No matter what the technology, there are both risks and benefits. For example, cars allow personal freedom by letting you go almost anywhere and carry heavy items that you could not move on your own. However, cars use gasoline that is made from oil, a limited resource. They also cause air pollution and can be dangerous if not driven properly. Living technology. Engineered devices are sometimes used on living things. This connects engineering and biology. Engineers who work with living things are called bioengineers. The practice of applying the engineering design process to living things is called bioengineering. Bioengineering can design tools that prevent pollution, engineer plants to grow faster, or design scanners to look inside the body. Bioengineering can benefit the environment, health, and nutrition. Any product used to benefit organisms or their environment is an example of biotechnology. Some bioengineers design devices, such as artificial legs, skin, and hearts, that replace human body parts. These artificial body parts do the same jobs as the human body parts they replace. Through the 1800s, delivering a message cross-country went from taking 25 days via stagecoach, to 1 week via railroad, to minutes via telegraph. In 1915, cross-country telephone service began. 80 years later, the first smartphone was developed. How does technology...
Okay, so that's basically a brief introduction of today's topic. What I'm going to relate is basically how do we combine science and arts together, and it actually benefits us in our daily lives. Yeah, of course, when you talk about humanizing technology, the hard part actually comes from the sciences, and the softer part or the usage or the experience comes from the arts and social science. Yeah, so what we're gonna do today, basically a brief definition of what is called by humanizing technology. We're gonna look at some of the important factors. How do I explain science meets art, and some of the challenges, and also our final destination as human being. Yeah. Then I'm going to do a little bit of the conclusion of today's presentation. Okay. Now, when you talk about harmonizing technology, it is basically referring to the practice of designing, commercializing, and using technology responsibly. It means that the information technology or the technology can actually provide very useful, meaningful, it can be accessible, and it can be distributed, and also it is transparent to human beings as much as possible. The advancement of technology has actually evolved to what we call the pushback. Yeah, so it actually resulted from how do you actually determine what technology is required to more of the advance nowadays that we actually expect the technology to be more human than us. Okay, so our expectation, our appetite, they call it, for better, faster, and cheaper technology can only be described as voracious and insatiable. Yeah. So we actually expect more and more from the technology that we actually have been using since then. Now, it's about the opportunity to embed design as a core component that in the creation, the keyword is again deployment, improvement of existing and emerging technologies to enhance human experience, rather than actually regarding technology as a factor that hinder the human experience. So that's basically what I mean by humanizing technology. Now, why or what are the pushing factors for people to actually humanize technology? Basically, there are three common ones. One is what we call the homeostatic balance. This is basically to make sure the needs of the human can actually be met by the technology. Yeah. And the second one is about sensors. We use technology, or we expect human experience because it appeals to our sense, and at the same time, it also appeals to our intelligence. So that's how we actually want the technology to be more giving human characteristics for us to experience and use technology. Yeah. So these are the basically three factors that drive people to actually humanize technology. Now, does it really mean human can be equal to technology? Now, as much as what we understand, social intelligence is actually a capability of mammals. Yeah, and emotional intelligence is the capability of a human. If you look at it, technology is neither one of these. Okay? It's neither mammalian capability or it's neither also human capability. But what we can actually do, or what we actually want, that technology would actually enable us to engage for better through storytelling and human-to-human interactions. Okay, so we want the technology to provide us that, because in actual fact, we learn more from human-to-human interactions rather than from non-human interfaces. Yeah. So can I say that human plus technology is the key? So in this case, when we talk about harmonizing technology, we require a software or a system that can be reverse engineered from the experience of human to deliver rather than to focus on its technical functionality or sophistication. So we expect that we combine both the human and technology so that it provides the expectations that you want as a user. Yeah. Now, basically, humanizing technology is rather a natural progression in our digital journey. So we cannot do, or we cannot live without technology, but we can actually use the technology to our advantage to ensure that we proceed with our digital journey, right? Now, technology advances every day and it changes very fast. So there is no definite destinations for the digital journey for us. Yeah. So basically, I would say human plus technology is more appropriate when we talk about harmonizing technology as a concept. Now, how do I relate this to the topic of today's presentation? Science meets arts. Yeah. Basically, when you talk about the one side of the technology, which focus on the code, the programs, and the applications, this is where the science and engineering comes into the picture, right? But on the other hand, when we talk about the quality of human experience, it results from engagement of users that actually involve the art and design pendulum. Yeah. So you can see you have the hard part and you need also the soft part in order for technology to actually be meaningful. So this is where I regard science as meeting the arts in our topic for today. Now you can see this on the left-hand side, you have all the shape, whereas on the right-hand side, we have arts and design, which needs to be combined. For example, if you want to produce one computer game, yeah, for example. So you need this computer and also at the same time, the capabilities and the instructions coming from the arts, yeah. Now, I have a few examples here, and how do I actually explain or focus on humanizing technology? Because we are so deeply into technology nowadays. We are so immense in our technology, even if, let's say, you forget to use your mobile phone, okay, or, you try to actually live without your mobile phone for a day or a few hours and see what can happen to our lives, yeah? So you might lose some updates from your groups of WhatsApp of your schoolmates, for example. You can actually lose the latest news from the internet, and you can also, may not be able to go back to your home without relying on the Waze or even Google Map, yeah? So you can see how much technology has been affecting our daily lives, and to what extent, how much it actually has changed our brains by taking many of the functions, yeah? Right. So previously, you can actually remember the routes going back to your hometown, for example, but nowadays, we rely so much on the handphone, okay, to actually guide us to go back to the destination, even though we actually know that is the routes we actually are very familiar with. Yeah. So another example is with the usage of artificial intelligence, as what the moderator has mentioned just now, is basically also aligned with the topic or the theme of today's conference or session. Basically, we rely a lot on the ability of computer that control to do tasks that are usually done by humans, because in actual fact, these computer and robots require human intelligence at the same time. Yeah. So AI also enables computer or computer control robot to perform tasks which are also commonly associated with human beings, like conversations, reasoning, discovering meanings, generalizing, and also learning from experience. Yeah. So for example, expert system, natural language processing, speech recognitions, machine learning, and machine visions are examples of the usage of artificial intelligence also in our daily lives. Yeah. Now, I am also would like to actually share these examples. This is a particular study that me and my co-researcher have done, looking at the differences between online product recommendations, whether they are generated by the system, which we refer as system-generated recommendation, and also consumer-generated recommendations. Yeah. Even though they were talking about the online product recommendations, but the findings actually found out that from the 400 respondents, they would actually still prefer, right, the consumer-generated recommendations to actually decide on buying a certain product or not. So the trusting belief of those with the consumer-generated recommendations is actually higher as compared to what we call the system-generated recommendations. And at the same time, the computer-generated, the consumer-generated recommendations also shows that it is higher with regards to when we talk about deciding whether the product is actually human experience product or specific product as per se. Yeah, so we actually rely more on consumer recommendations before we actually decide to do or to purchase any products on even on the internet. Yeah. So what are some of the challenges in order for us to do this? There are a few challenges of humanizing technology. I can divide it into social, moral, and ethical. For example, when you use a lot of technology, you expect it to be human, and it can result what we call as a dehumanizations, whereas we are actually depriving the human qualities when we rely so much on technologies. Yeah. The second impact or the challenges would actually be in the form of unemployment, whereby usage of technology advancement would actually result into what we call unemployment, whereby lower or lesser number of people would actually be employed in occupations or in organizations. Yeah. Now, it can also result in desocializations because we interact more with machines rather than we interact with human beings. And also it has a result in social competency in form of interactions. Yeah, human interactions is actually getting lesser and lesser nowadays because we don't actually have to interact with people when we have problems. For example, if you want to check on your mobile package, for example, you can just chat with the robot, and they will actually tell you some of the answers that you have. Yeah. Now, with regards to moral, of course, the usage of technology, more advanced technology, will also affect the freedom of expressions. Yeah, and also it has a challenge with regards to misuse of technology. Also, these are what we regard as some of the challenge to moral. And with regard to ethical, there are a few. For example, security, identity fraud, and also the issue of control with regards to the usage of a specific technology that involves personal data. All right. Now, moving forward, if you look at our destination, where are we going actually? So technology actually enhances or progresses human journey. Yeah, as what I've mentioned earlier, it's actually progressing or helping us to progress in our digital journey. So there is the need for us to have ongoing journey of human progress and transcendence. And this will also result in us as humans to progress in getting new knowledge, getting new skills, and to actually keep up with the technology in our daily life. So we need to progress also in terms of human knowledge. Yeah. Now, technology also improve on our health and well-being. We need to be careful, and also we need to acknowledge that technology is the catalyst for us to improve on our health and well-being at the same time. Yeah. At the same time, there are also challenges with regards to human rights. Of course, in this case, we need to actually know what would be the rights, or what are the things that we can do, and what are the things that also are affecting our rights as a human at the same time when we talk about the advancement of technology usage as a whole, right? Now, why? Basically, when we talk about the usage of invasive technologies, that makes us feeling sometimes a little bit cold, controlled by the technology, and sometimes we feel also disconnected, yeah, because we are so immense, we are so focused on our usage of the mobile devices, computers. We actually do not talk much with other people, so that actually result in disconnecting. Now, of course, when you talk about there is a need for us to involve or to actually involve technology in our tasks daily, that can actually result in lesser or efficiency and automations are no longer enough. Okay, because we actually want more and more things to be automated. We want the technology to do other things that have not been done previously, and we expect them to be like human. Yeah. So my third point, it seems that we want our technology to be more human, which results in fourth point, which is becoming more dehumanizing. When we talk about dehumanizing, basically this is a stage where we deprive our human qualities because of the information technology expectation and usage. Yeah. Now, as a conclusions, we can see that humanizing technology is a digital journey. This is where the science meets arts halfway when we actually combine human and technology to help us in improving our life quality, help us in our daily routines, help us to communicate and so forth. So we both require science and also arts at the same time, right? Now, as we go along, we actually expect the technology to be more human, and it can actually result in the concept of dehumanizing. Yeah. So where are we heading after this is also very important issue that need to be addressed by everyone, researchers, policymakers, and also the society at large, because technology can actually result in depriving human qualities. Yeah. So that actually concludes my presentations. Thank you very much for listening. Over to you, moderator.
Okay. Thank you so much for presentation, for the very insightful and informative presentation, Professor Dr. Nur Ismawati. I'm sure our audience has learned a lot from your explanation. We will hold the Q&A later at the end of the session after all the three speakers do the presentation. So now we will move to the next agenda. We will hear from our second speaker. But before that, I will read her profile first. Okay, Mrs. Nila Firdausi Nuzula, SS MSc PhD, is an associate professor at Business Administration Department in the Faculty of Administrative Science, Universitas Brawijaya. Her expertise in financial, managerial, and corporate governance as a research interest. And then for experiences, did 7 research projects in 2022, 14 research projects in 2021, 16 research projects in 2020, 37 in total, and then did community service annually in Malang Regency. She also has a lot of publication and duties. So please join me in welcoming Mrs. Nila Firdausi Nuzula, SS MSc PhD. And then without further ado, I will hand it over to Mrs. Nila Firdausi.
Thank you, Siva. Please let me share screen first. Okay. Thank you. Morning, everyone. So this is my good time to share the idea with you all that currently this is this is my, what is it? The way that I want to share that business is not only in management or operational level, but we can move to the wider perspective that we currently moving into circular economy. So that's why when the committee BICBATT first time asked me what kind of topic that you're going to deliver in this international seminar. So I was thinking about the financial things related to my field of research, but currently since the audience is very wide and broader, so I take it in the higher level in paradigm that we are currently in international level already have discussed about the circular economy. So how about us in developing countries, in Indonesia, for example, and especially what the business entities have to deal with this? So we move to the first presentation, first slide, that the circular economy is not new actually. It has roots in 19th century when the British textile manufacturer called Luditis argued that it would be more efficient to use a new machine to recycle materials instead of creating new ones from the scratch, from the zero. So the idea is actually very old, and then in the modern era related to the disruption of the technology currently after the pandemic, especially that we are moving into easiest way, more efficient to do the business, what we call as a product life factor. The idea, the term is raised by the Dr. Walter Stahel. He used a closed loop economy, and then the idea is already ratified by the UN Sustainable Development Goals in 2015, and take it as the key factors, key focus, how all of the people, all of the institution and the government have to support on it about the the circular economy. So we also discuss about how the circular economy is not actually new, but still it has a different with the current economic system. With the current economic system that we later call it as the linear economies, goods are produced, used and discarded. Then the flow of production has a very clear at the beginning how to start the product from the raw materials, and then it comes to the process in daily activities of the company, and then go to the waste or discarded. Then as I mentioned before, that it's already have a new idea that the product and service should have been designed in a way that allow them to be reused, recycled, either in biological or technical cycles. So in this way, the retaining value of the product itself, not actually start from the product, but from the raw material itself, it should be retained. So that's why the better the integrity of the raw material or the material itself can be preserved, and then the more value can be retained until the closed loop, the system can sustain until whatever you can mention in how many times later. So this is actually the difference between the linear economy as the first, or we can call it as the current economic system, with the circular economy. According to the approach, for example, one perspective, the product or the material start from the take, make, and waste. So the company, or we call it as the probably supply chains, they take the materials from the natural resource, for example, and then make it into a product that can be delivered to the end user or to the business, and then go to the waste. But it's not happen in the circular economy. The product can be reduced, reused, and recycled, and then it goes to the next consumer, for example, or it goes to the new manufacturers, for example, or later it can be goes on and on. Then from the sustainability perspective, in this linear economy, the main tool is eco-efficiency. It can be discussed later. And in the circular economy, the main tool is eco-effectiveness to some extent. To what extent the product can be so effective to fulfill the interest of the user, of course. But the vision, linear economy can be focused on the short-term revenue or profitability. You can see it in the orientation of shareholders, for example. So that's why the value creation through mass production or sales. The more we can have products, it can reach a larger market, and then the value of the company can be higher also. But it's not happen hopefully in the circular economy, that the vision of the company, the vision of the employee have to longer term. So that's why the value creation have to be in terms of sustainability throughout the product's life cycle, according to the how to we update the technology and update how to produce the materials, and is it the product can be repaired or regenerated into another products or new service. For example, it can be have a multiple life cycle. About the business model, in the previously, now still happening currently, the company focus on produce, use, and thrown away. Following the approach as we discussed previously. But in circular economy, the focus is service, because the product itself can be owned by only the company. The user can use it, in swap method, using swap method, or only use the service. Actually, no need to own the product itself. So next to the slide, linear economy. It can be say as like this display. The resource come to the process, into the use, and then go to the disposal, or either go in a backward into renewable resource, or in recycling method. But it's not happen in the circular economy. In circular economy, the raw materials can be reused in a new product, in a new material. So the eco-effectiveness can happen. In this way, the company can minimize the ecological, economic, and social impact. Then this is actually our opportunities as a business researchers or business student. The way that we do business, it can be shifted, can be altered into different ways. How to do business? We can start from the how to design and manufacture product, and then also the second one, how to create good relationship with customer, because we can focus on services that we can deliver to the users. So first, and how to design and manufacture product. The customer roles has already changed. So that's why the company, we are in the company's perspective in micro level, we need to identify the needs of the the need of the users, what the expectation of the users of the product, behavior. So that's why in this business and the company, creating product by using renewable, recyclable, biodegradable, compostable materials, avoid toxic, avoid hazardous product or materials, non-recyclable materials is very important. Start from the beginning. Start from we are picking up the materials from the supplier that we have the relationship with. Then start with the use of local, certified, traceable material. Minimize the use of mixed composite materials, because if we cannot trace the materials which are from whom the materials that we collect from the supplier, so we cannot separate between which material that can be recycled or not. So that's why very important to start from the beginning, identify which supplier that can have the similar experience, the similar orientation with us as the in managerial level, in micro level in the company. Then we move to the second perspective, how to create a good relationship with customer. This is important also because the customer role is focused no longer on consumption, instead on the use of this function. So that's why we focus on the service, because the customer may not have the willingness to own the product. they only need to use the product. So that's why maybe some of you may be very familiar with the swapping batteries in electric vehicle, for example. So yeah, we can only use the product without owning the product itself. So that's why for the business, the possible different demands on the business community have to be identified. We also need to build long-term relationship in this business model with whom? With various stakeholders, including government. For example, if we want to put or deploy the rechargeable batteries, for example, we need to have a good relationship with the government. Of course, it's a kind of program like this. So the business opportunity is very various. Various. So one of the I think this is two of the examples for business models are collaborative consumption. This kind of business model is already happened in Taiwan. The electric motorcycle is very common in that country. I think also in Indonesia, instead of owning the batteries, the company provide the swapping system. So that when the users of the motorcycle have already lost run out the energy for the electricity, so they can swap in very various location. So it's no need to have the anxiety that they cannot go and cannot mobile because of the run out of the electricity. The second one is we call it biomimicry. Biomimicry kind of using the natural mechanism given by the God that we can learn from. For example, what was done by SpinTech, for example, they use how spiders creating fibers, and then by doing or learning from natural resources or natural environment. So the company try to have more friendly to the environment things, many products. Other things is that we call it as the collaborative consumption by using this kind of scheme. There are products, services, and marketplace that the European Commission suggests to us in worldwide, especially in European, for example, how to provide platform that have a collaboration with the company that provides service, and then also they create marketplace. And then I think by doing this, we think by doing this, product itself is driven by the company. And also it really happened in Denmark, for example, in Kalundborg. The industrial symbiosis is really happened. It involves 9 public and private actors that have exchanged materials, water, and energy. And then, it can benefit the environment and also the bottom line, profit people and planet as well. So this is actually the contribution of circular economy for the business. First thing, social benefit. The second one, business benefit, environmental benefit. We can see here that actually how to do the business kind of altered, shifted into various various things, that the business itself in various business in all industry can be affected by the circular transition. How about the academician to see this circular economies? that actually this kind of new paradigm of I have the two bracket here, new circular economies provide a new opportunities for research. You can see in the right section, for example, there are many theoretical bases for industrial symbiosis. We are from social science. We can see these circular economies from policy analysis, the organizational theory, or network theory, institutional theory, and so on. You know. But how about the engineering part and natural science part? Of course, in this case, we need to have collaboration research with other disciplines from other STEM, yeah, science, technology, etc., and engineering, etc. Multidisciplines research is very important here because we live in the same earth and we share in the same resource. So in this way, how about the business itself? As the main field of research, corporate governance, allow me to have a discussion from the this corporate governance perspective. Of course, corporate governance, including the set of system procedures, have to address the investors, the regulators, the customers' needs to be to maintain in competitive, agile, and resilient. So that's why the board itself, the person or the institution that set the regulation in a company level, have to have awareness. They need to ensure the longevity and survival of the corporation following under the development of this circular economy. So this is, we call it as a sustainability governance. The concepts implement the sustainability strategy across the business that we need to restate our goal setting. Reporting process have to be altered into new ways using the new technology, for example, and also strengthen the relationship with the external stakeholders and ensure, of course, the overall accountability. So I did it this presentation by quoting from the several guidelines to do the reporting for the environment, social, and governance. There are some of them that point out some of the idea of sustainable corporate governance. Yeah. First thing, loyalty, commitment, integrity, caring, and innovation. These five things have to be embedded in the daily activities of the company. So who going to do the enforcement of or enhancement of commitment, loyalty, integrity, caring? Of course, the corporate governance principle have the guidelines to deliver, to have the authority. So who is going to have this authority to set this this system? Yeah. Then yeah, this is that actually the corporate governance is not only for the reporting. It also maintain to also ensure that the company have to forecast responsible decision making, have to have a flexible corporate governance structure, identify and review critical issues and strategies. They need to have a clear regulation, clear, reliable, and current database system. It is a very what is it? Work together. It cannot be one division, one function, only do the task, but we need to work together. So actually, again, according to stakeholder theory, that corporate governance have to address the need of customers, employees, shareholders, suppliers, competitors, and communities. So yeah, this is what we're going to set up, develop in the company. Policies and procedures, business ethics, compliance with regulation, monitoring, how to, company to monitor and reporting, how they take over the culture, the risk management. It have to be settled down in the company level. And also the key sustainable policy and procedures. Explain how does the company set up the steering committee? Because of course, the steering committee is the one who advise, supervise the managerial, the daily board of director. We in Indonesia have a two-tier system that we spirit between the one or the institution or the organ that have the supervision task, and then also for the decision making task. The second one, the company have to ensure that everyone can have effective communication. The third one, applicable document have to be enhanced because it gives us the idea how to do the things rightly in the exact timeline. And also we need to ensure that accountability principle can be achieved by the company. These four key assumptions have to be in place: integrity, equity, transparency, and whistleblowing. Of course, we cannot put aside this whistleblowing system. Next, monitoring and reporting. Of course, the one who have the authority to do the internal control have to be established first. Then also we can ask the external control to do to make sure that the fairness of the company in the corporate governance mechanism can work properly. And whistleblowing, as I mentioned before, the consequence of the manager about how does the company identify, document, evaluate, segregate. If anything is a bad thing, should be disposition, non-compliance, according to the regulation and standard. Then this is this 5 sustainable management: identification, assessment, response, and mitigation, and of course monitoring. This component that organ that have to be established by the board of commissioners here. First one is board composition, governance structure, linked to remuneration, and also corporate culture. Because we as the human individual still need to ensure that the basic needs is already fulfilled by the company. Again, this is the how the business level have to have. Do I have the how many? Oh, okay.
Yeah. We're really sorry, due to the time limitation, we have to stop the presentation here. So is there any conclusion or closing from
let me finish maybe 1 minute for us, Siva.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Yeah, this is the way that we do circular economies in business. Why do I mention about corporate governance? Because the corporate governance give us the idea how the leadership of the company have to settle down. So in Indonesia, the circular economy has ratified in November 2019, and it's already integrated into the National Medium-Term Development Plan. This is the 5 business model in Indonesia National Development Planning Board in 2022 have been released, and also the 5 prioritized sector that firstly have to incorporate the circular economies in their daily business. So I think this is the end of the presentation. Sorry, Siva, for allowing you all to hear my extended presentation. I give time to Siva as the moderator. Sorry again.
Okay, thank you so much, Mrs. Nila, for a very valuable and informative presentation. Our audience will gain a lot from these perspectives. Okay, now we will jump into the next agenda. It's okay. So we will jump into the next agenda. We will hear from our third speaker. But before that, I would like to read her profile first. What is the comedy? Okay, Professor Yuli Susena is a professor of management and deputy dean of learning and teaching at School Management at Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology at MIT in Melbourne, Australia. Professor Yuli Susena's expertise in entrepreneurship, innovation, social capital, and social network and strategy. And also she has extensive experience working at various universities in Australia and the UK, as well as in the industry before completing her PhD at the University of Queensland. And then Professor Yuli has also a lot of publications, awards, and also scholarships, such as the Scholarship, Australian Postgraduate Award Industry Scholarship, University of Queensland Mid-Year Postgraduate Research Scholarships, Bailey Research Scholarship during her PhD program. And then Professor Yuli Susena was awarded the National Science and Technology Board and STB Gold Medal for being the top graduate in the Master of Science program at the National University of Singapore. So please join me in welcoming Professor Yuli Susena. Good morning, Professor.
Terima kasih, Siva. Good morning, everyone. Selamat pagi. I hope that everyone is doing great. I'm actually 3 hours ahead in the eastern part of Australia, so it's nearly 1:30 in the afternoon. If I may, I will share my screen. Give me a second. Able to see that? Yes? Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Terima kasih, first of all, to the organizing committee for the invitation for me to speak today. It's such an honor to be here virtually with all of you today. My name, once again, is Yuli Susena. I'm Professor of Management and the Deputy Dean Learning and Teaching in RMIT University in the School of Management. So it's really great to hear from all the other speakers as well. My work is really in the intersection of technology and human aspects, which is very much aligned with Professor Noor's presentation. I have done quite a bit on in terms of research in the fields of the sharing economy and the collaborative consumption and the circular economy, which is very much aligned with Associate Professor Neela's presentation. So it's really great to see all the connections here. My topic today will focus on the key aspects for driving digital transformation. So I would very much like to focus on the management aspects for driving digital transformation. Now, I probably would like to start off with a little story here. Some of you might be familiar with this company, right? I'm totally super familiar with this company, Blockbuster. I grew up with Blockbuster. Pretty much every weekend during my teenage years, I would go to a Blockbuster store, spend hours and hours just trying to choose which movies to rent. I can see Professor Noor nodding, so you would understand what I'm talking about here. Blockbuster was founded in 1985, and at its peak, Blockbuster had 9,000 stores around the world and made about $6 billion. So it was $1 billion company. But now the company has basically disappeared. It only has one remaining store in the world, and that's a picture of the last remaining store of Blockbuster that you see on the screen. It's in a small town in Oregon in the United States. So from 9,000 stores to just one store. Blockbuster actually filed for bankruptcy in 2010. Now, Blockbuster lost to this small niche company at that time, a company by the name of Netflix, which I'm sure many of you are familiar by now. But at that time, Netflix was a very, very small company, which only focused on DVD mailing service, right? Now, Netflix here, in a very short period of time, it actually transformed from a DVD mailing service company to one that is focused on streaming media. It actually saw an opportunity in the market to digitalize their business. It capitalized on that opportunity. It actually revamped its business model to leverage on the opportunity. So instead of getting the customers going to the store, just like Blockbuster did, Netflix actually created a business model of paid subscriptions, allowing customers to just sit from their home, do whatever that they want to do, choose whichever movie they want without leaving their home. And best of all, customers can stream the movies as and when they want it. I'm telling you the story of this Blockbuster because this story serves as an innovation lesson to businesses. A company that was worth billions of dollars could be very much stuck in outdated business models, and the fact that it actually refused to adapt to changing market trends led to the failure of a billion-dollar company like Blockbuster. There are also at the same time many young successful companies that we know of today. Maybe some of you would become the young successful entrepreneurs in the next couple of years as well. What you see on the slide there are some relatively young company. Uber, for example, was founded in 2009, only 14 years old, even younger than my son. Gojek and WhatsApp were also founded in 2009. Snapchat was even younger. It was founded in 2011. So it was only 12 years old. So these companies here are amazing because they reached $1 billion in valuation in about 4 years. Whereas the older companies would reach $1 billion in valuation in roughly about 40 years. So that's 10 times quicker. So you can imagine here the speed and the growth of these companies. They can grow quickly at 10 times the rate, but at the same time, it also means that they could disappear 10 times as quickly as well. So it's important for companies to constantly innovate. They need to adapt. They need to capitalize on the opportunities. They need to change their business models, just like what Netflix did from that DVD mailing service to a streaming media company. New innovation and technologies also create what we call as digital transformation. And this is about combining the effects of several digital innovations that change pretty much everything from the players, the companies, the consumers, how we behave, the structures, the practices, the values, how we work, how we purchase products, how we travel. It actually changed the entire ecosystems. What we are experiencing now with Netflix, with Uber, with Gojek, with Airbnb, Amazon, it's all about digital transformation. Now, all companies need to be on the bandwagon of digital transformation, not only to optimize their operations and transform their processes. It's also about empowering their employees, making them as effective and as efficient as possible. It's also about engaging their customers, making them feel that the process is getting better, the process is more efficient, more effective, and of course, make it more convenient for customers, just like the story of Netflix earlier. Now, this was a survey that was conducted by Gartner, looking at CEO intentions in terms of digital transformation of their business. You see there the blue line at the top. That shows that 83% of CEOs of global companies basically responded that they are keen to invest in digital capabilities to transform their business. And you see that the intentions of the CEOs to invest in the digital capabilities actually increased over time as well. Interestingly, though, research has shown that 70% of digital transformations actually fail. That's very interesting. They actually fail. Last year, global companies spent about 1.3 trillion US dollars, not millions, not billions, but trillions US dollars on digital transformation. An estimated $900 billion actually went to waste. So what's the problem? The problem is that there are organizational challenges, what we call as deficits. And these deficits could be about alignment deficit, where there is a lack of alignment between the vision of the company, the strategy, and the implementation of digital transformation. There could be infrastructure deficit, where you don't have the technologies and the supporting system and the infrastructure to support your digital transformation. There could be skills deficit, where you may not have the staff with the required skills and capabilities for digital transformation. And the list goes on, right? But as you can see on the screen there, at the bottom of the list, if you are able to overcome the deficits, for example, in terms of cultural deficit, you are more likely to increase your return on digital investments by quite a bit, from 10% to nearly about 15% in the case of cultural deficit. So it's really important for organizations to overcome these deficits in order to get higher returns on their digital investments. The question now is, what do organizations have to do in order to overcome these deficits and facilitate or drive that digital transformation? The answers really come down to the effective change management process. I'm going to highlight a couple of these key aspects for driving digital transformation. And we see this in our practices and in my research work as well. The first key aspect, which is really fundamental, is about the importance and the role of leadership in driving digital transformation. This is about ensuring that you do not have the alignment deficit that I talked about earlier. This is about making sure that there is alignment, strong alignment between the vision of the company, the strategy, and the implementation of your digital transformation. So you need leaders who not only understand the organization, but also leaders who can envision what the organization can eventually become. And part of this leadership is really about making sure that the organization becomes what we call as digitally fluent, right? Now, there is a framework here about digitally fluent organization. Those are the pillars of a digitally fluent organization. The framework comprises of 4 pillars, which I'm going to talk about very briefly. The first one is on digital foundations. This is really about the technology side of digital fluency. So Professor Noor talked about the technology, which is really important. If I could use the example of us wanting to buy a product and we want to use our credit card to purchase the product, right? In this case, the technology is important for the banks, for the credit card companies. They need to make sure that the transactions are recorded by the credit card company so that we can make payment to the retailer on the spot. The payment is then charged to the bank. The bank will then charge us as the customer. So, that's a simplistic explanation of it. You don't see most of the transactions because they're all happening behind the scenes, but they happen real time. If they don't happen real time, you won't be able to make payment on your purchases. So the technology part is really important when it comes to digital transformation. That's the digital foundation. The next one is about digital operations. This is about using the technologies to transform the way we work. An example would be Netflix operations, entirely changing the business models and the way the company operates. With Blockbuster, as mentioned earlier, you had to physically go to the store to rent a movie, but with Netflix, you can stream whatever movies you want from your home, and you don't need to go to the stores. Uber and Gojek is another example. Uber and Gojek change the way we get transported from point A to point B. That's digital transformation through changing the digital operations of the company. The next one is about digital workforce TQ. This is about, technology quotient, we call this. We talk about EQ, we talk about IQ. Now there is something called TQ, which stands for technology quotient. This is the skills part of digital fluency. This is about making sure that our workforce is capable. They have the skills and the knowledge across the different digital technologies. Now, all these pillars are fundamentally driven by digital leadership and culture. Without the leadership and the right culture, none of the automation, none of the efficiency or the reinvention of work could happen. I have a couple of projects at the moment on digital leadership I'll be able to share in another occasion when the work has already been published. The second key aspect that I would like to talk about is about establishing organizational systems to build capabilities. This is about overcoming the skills deficit that I talked about earlier, right? This is about building your employees' technology quotient. These are about your capabilities that you need to adapt, you need to manage, you need to integrate technology in your daily working lives. It could mean, many things, from being aware, being knowledgeable in terms of how to protect and secure the company's information. We have a lot of cyber threats right now. So being aware and protecting your company's information is really important, to also identifying inefficient processes. Now, the framework that you see on the screen there is based on my research that was published in the International Journal of Human Resource Management. It's an A journal. So in Australia, there are specific journals that we have to focus on. I focus on the A-star and the A journals. So in this project, we wanted to understand when an organization implements something that's new and radical, like artificial intelligence, how does it actually ensure that employees are ready for such radical change? I'm not going to go through everything, but what I wanted to highlight here is that organizational systems, in our case, HPWS, which is high performance work systems, as you can see on the screen there, these organizational systems play a key role in ensuring that employees can learn new things to build their capabilities, right? So when you have organizational systems that support your employees to build their capabilities, these employees then become more confident. They're much more likely to overcome their anxiety. In our case, it's about AI anxiety, and that makes them more likely, more ready to embrace change. And that's what we found in our study. So an organization, as an organization, we need to be able to identify what organizations systems that we have. If we don't have it, what sort of systems that we need to build, what sort of systems that we need to buy in order to upskill our employees to successfully digitally transform our company. The third point is really about HR driven. This is focusing on the role of organizational climate in terms of the provision of social support. This is really important because digital transformation is something new. Not many of us are aware or even know what to do with it, right? Many employees, in fact, need help and encouragement to change the way they work because of digital transformation. So it's really important for that collaboration and social support to exist. So we have a lot of Teams chats, we have a lot of Slack as well, where people can actually give support and encouragement for one another. This model here is from a research that I've done as well, and this was again published in an A journal. We collected data from a large public sector organization in Australia. What I wanted to say here is that when you are expecting your employees to be innovative as an outcome, your employees need to feel that they're getting the support from their team members. They're getting the support from the managers, from the peers, from the broader organization. That is what we found from our study. The higher the social support, the higher is the positive relationship between the tasks the employees are doing and their innovative work behavior. This would also apply when we are talking about digital transformation. When you're driving that digital transformation behavior, you need to create that organizational climate of social support in order for your employees to feel confident to embrace that digital transformation. The fourth key aspect is having that startup mentality. So my background is entrepreneurship and innovation. This is about being agile. Now, digital transformation can be scary because, as I said earlier, we've never been in the journey before. So it's not a familiar phase for many of us and many organizations. But any company could adopt digital transformation as long as they have this startup mentality. If you look at startups, whether it's in Indonesia or in Australia or in the Silicon Valley, they are usually quick innovators. They can innovate so fast because it's all about rapid experimentation, what we call as the lean startup mentality. So you need to have, when you have an idea, in this case about, perhaps digitally transforming your business, you need to quickly build or operationalize your idea and then measure it, test it, and learn quickly from it. So you do this on a regular basis so that feedback loop is constant. So it's about build, measure, learn, and repeat again and again. Now, this is an interesting experiment to illustrate the importance of having that startup mentality. Tom Wojcik actually ran this challenge of building the tallest structure by just using 4 materials: a packet of spaghetti or noodles, tape, string, and a marshmallow. And when you are forming the structure, the marshmallow must be placed at the top of the structure. And he ran this challenge in many workshops across the world with business school students, with designers, with architects, with members of the C-suite from Fortune 50 companies, and also with kindergarten children and so on. So lots and lots of workshops around the world with lots of participants. Now, in these workshops, one group, interestingly, always consistently deliver well. And that group that always did well was the kindergarten children. The structures were always by far the most creative and the tallest. So the question is, why? How is it possible that the kindergarten children are better in building a structure than adults? How can this be possible? There is a TED Talk video on this. You can watch it when you have the time as well. Tom Bujak actually explained it in his TED Talk. I will just paraphrase those in the bold letters. Many of us, most people, most of us, most teams, we spend a lot of time talking about a project. When we have a project, we plan ahead, we talk about it, we figure out what we have to do, how the structure is going to be like, and blah, blah, blah. We spend a lot of time planning, organizing, even drawing it before we actually do the work. By the time we build the structure, the clock is almost up. And then many of these adults would then put the marshmallow at the top of the structure, and then they realized that it was too heavy, the whole structure collapsed. By then, it was just a case of too little, too late, we call it. The young children, on the other hand, right, they just started building. All of them just started out testing their different ideas. They did not assign roles. They did not assign responsibilities. There was no manager. They just built. Okay. Now, this is another interesting finding from research as well. Many teams, like the business students team, they only put the marshmallow once within the time space, and they normally put the marshmallow last when the time is almost up. The kindergarten children, on the other hand, put in 5 marshmallows on average within that space of 18 minutes. So this is to illustrate the point of build it quickly, measure it or test it. If it's okay if you didn't succeed, you haven't really built a tall structure anyway, you quickly learn from your failure. We sometimes call this the fail fast, fail early concept. There is an article in Harvard Business Review about Levi's digital transformation. So that's the jeans company. And there is one statement in that article that's really powerful, in my opinion. It is about do not let the perfect be the enemy of the good, which means that do not wait until things become perfect before you actually start to build, because by the time you build it, things may already change. It may be too late by then. That's the same with Levi's. They did not wait for the ideas to be perfect before they digitally transform their business, but they actually learn from the process. And that brings me to the final point here, which is about continuous learning culture as key to facilitate digital transformation. And I found the importance of continuous learning as well in our research. I will use the case study of Lego. Those are the pictures of Lego headquarters in Billund in Denmark. Lego at one point in time was on the brink of bankruptcy. That was sometime in late 1990s when video games and television series became very, very popular, and children somehow did not seem to have the time or the motivation to play with the colorful Lego blocks. Lego saw the trend in the market in terms of digitalization, and they responded to that trend, right? So they came up with lots of things that are digital. They came up with the electronic toys for toddlers, for small little kids, to digitally connecting the action heroes, but they were not successful. They failed big time. They were not successful because in the rush to digitally transform their business, the firm actually lost sight of its core, which is that physical construction play with the Lego bricks. The company almost went bankrupt in 2003, 2004. It had to sack a lot of employees and got emergency loans to turn the company around. Obviously, it was able to turn the company around. So there are lessons from Lego. I'm going to highlight 2 of these lessons. The first one is respecting what made you great. For Lego, the company becomes successful because of its core product, which is the Lego bricks. So for their turnaround, what Lego did was to link the Lego bricks, their core product, with the upcoming pop culture. It saw an opportunity in the cultural phenomenon of Star Wars. So it actually clenched the franchise deal with Star Wars and introduced 13 different Star Wars theme sets. Pictures that you see on the screen there are some of the older Lego Star Wars products. In fact, up until today, the products under the Star Wars series have been the best-selling products for Lego. Lego then started the Lego TV series with Lego Ninja Go and the Lego movie, which proved to be extremely successful. But they not only come up with the movies, but they also sold the bricks and the characters to accompany the movie. So it's about leveraging your core product, respecting what made you great. So in the sort of like focusing on the digital transformation, do not lose sight of your core product, what made you great. Now, Lego also has an online platform where it invites consumers and fans to upload their ideas for products. I've done this before. And if the product idea gets 10,000 votes, Lego will then consider whether to introduce the product commercially or not. So it's about maintaining that customer-centric development process, which is that second point there. Lego constantly learns from their designers, learns from their stakeholders, even from children, inviting them to the headquarters, inviting them to that real-life Lego house that you see on the picture there, also inviting us, their fans, customers, or anyone really, to submit their ideas, our ideas, through the online platform. So that mindset of continuous learning from different people is really important. So once again, it's about continuous learning. For Lego, the company realized that for them, digital transformation is not just about replacing your core products. It's about complementing the core products with the digital experiences, that Lego bricks with the digital experiences. So that's just a summary of what we have discussed. For digital transformation to work successfully, first of all, we need leadership. We need the right people to really guide the organization to successfully transform, digitally transform the business. This is about the vision alignment. Then you need to have that infrastructure and the system to tie in your technology, your process, your operations, your product, and your people. This is about the infrastructure alignment that I talked about earlier as well. Then you need to experiment and have that startup mentality, build, measure, learn quickly, and be agile. Understand why you failed. It could be because you did not have the capabilities. Ask yourself, what is it that I had to do in order to build the capability? So this is about piloting to action, and it's about ensuring the skills alignment. And the fourth one is about HR focus to create that organizational climate of social support. And finally, is about having that cultural mindset. There must be digital cultural shift with cultural mindset. This is about cultural alignment. There's still many, many research gaps and opportunities that can be explored for each of these pillars. And I guess that's it from me. I'm happy to answer any questions or even connect on LinkedIn. I look forward to having you visit Australia and RMIT in the very near future as well. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for Professor Yuli for a really wonderful and insightful presentation. I'm sure that our audience has learned a lot from this perspective also. So now we will move to the 15 minutes Q&A session. All the audience can ask question. If you have any question, you can ask question by raising your hand, or you can type your question on the chat box and I'm going to read them for you. Please also state your name and affiliation before asking your question. Okay, the first question will be from Mr. Irfan, please.
Okay. Mbak Tifa, can you hear my voice? It's clear, yeah? Okay, I have some question from Dr. Yuli. As some who comes from Indonesia, from Surabaya, Bonek Surabaya. Prof, according to you, Prof, what concrete step does the millennials generations need to prepare to be able to enter the very dynamic digital transformation? Because based on your paper, if we want to create some business, we need to have good mentality. But in the other hand, you know that this millennial generation is famous for being a generation that doesn't like the process. They are result oriented, they know about it. But however, they also didn't change his way of the thinking.
Sorry, Irfan, there was an echo just now. There was echo just now, so I missed pretty much half of your, probably half of your questions. Irfan, are you able to hear me?
Oh, okay.
Able to hear me?
Okay, here. Okay, Prof. Prof. Yuli Suseno. As someone comes from Indonesia, you're from Surabaya, Bonek, Surabaya. According to Prof. Yuli, what concrete step does the millennials generation need to prepare to be able the entry very dynamic digital transformation. Based on your paper, if we want to create some business, we need to have a good mentality. But in other hand, we know that this millennial generation is famous for being a generation that doesn't like a process. They are results orientation, focus on orientation, but not they don't like process. They knowing about it. However, they also didn't change his way of the thinking. In your opinion, give the best suggestion from millennials in Indonesian, Prof.
Thank you, Irfan, for a very fantastic question. Yes, I was born in Surabaya, so bahasa Indonesia saya masih banyak logat Jawanya ya, masih medok. So on your question, it's really interesting. Now I'm involved in a lot of tech startups in the scene in Melbourne. And previously I was involved in Newcastle as well. Now the millennials, quite surprisingly, they are very adventurous. I would say I'm a Gen X. So I would say my appetite to risk, it's probably much, much lower than the millennials. So I think that's a very, positive side of the millennials. They are so willing to try. They work out all the different ideas. They're super, super creative. Sometimes like, oh, this is so simple, but I've never thought about it. And this is the, obviously the millennials suggestions as well. But the one thing that they probably lack is that that mindset of accepting failure as failure. And I think that's something that it's not only for Australian students, it's also for international students. A lot of international students come to Australia as well to study. They cannot embrace that failure. So that mindset, I guess, from starting from young, it cannot, we can start obviously to build that in the university level, but starting from young, it needs to be molded in the communities as well. It's okay to fail. It's okay to try out. And I think, coming sort of an Asian background as well, we are many, perhaps all of us here are Asians, that sort of mentality, oh, if I fail, what is A is going to think about me and this kind of thing. So it's very, very difficult to change. And that applies to the Australians, the domestic students as well. They are very afraid to fail. So I think the key thing is having that sort of mentor, that role models is really, really important. Now, the thing is, I have a lot of mentees in my communities. Many of them are international students. Some of them come from Indonesia. A lot of my PhD students are actually from Indonesia. And they see like, oh, wow, Professor Yuli, it's like you are a female, you are from Indonesia, you are a professor in Australian university, which is very difficult to actually climb up to that level in Australian universities. But having that sort of a role model is really important. You need to surround yourself with the role models, with the right role models. And the other thing is having mentors. I think is really important as well. Mentors not only in just one area, because I talk to people, oh, I only have one mentor or two mentors. You need to equip yourself, surround yourself with as many mentors as possible, because everyone will give you different angles, different perspectives, different strengths to the table. And then you, as the human, we're talking about the human aspect here, then you can make your own decisions in terms of which one I can, go with in relation to that. The other thing I think is really important is the ecosystems that nurture that mindset. And we teach entrepreneurship in the School of Management. So we have, undergraduate studies. We are coming up with a postgrad study in entrepreneurship as well, in innovation as well. That ecosystem needs to be there. It needs to be a safe environment where students can actually fail safely. And this comes back to that sort of first point that I talked about earlier. So the system on the broader level, the individual level, and also at the community level, and all ties in together, and obviously surrounding yourself with that role models, which is really important. What we're doing right now with networking, coming from Australia, from Malaysia, from Indonesia, this is a fantastic learning opportunity, just listening and learning from each other. This is a great step. Thank you, Pak Irfan.
Okay, thank you, Professor.
Thank you so much. So that's a really wonderful answer, because it's apart from other factors, is really the matter of the mindset and also the ecosystem and also the mentality of their self. Okay, thank you so much for the answer, Professor Yuli. And then we move to the second question from Ataya Hirzi, please.
Okay, thank you. First of all, thank you for the great knowledge from the speakers, Professor Nur, Professor Nila, and Professor Yuli. First of all, my name is Ataya, a student from University of Brawijaya. I would like to ask a few questions. First of all, I would like to ask Professor Nur about are there some compelling examples of projects or initiatives that have successfully achieved the fusion of science and art contribution and art contribute to the process of humanizing technology? The second question is from Professor Nila about circular economy that I mentioned before is a new things in business, right? So what steps can small and medium-sized enterprises or SMEs take to incorporate circular economy practices given the resource constraints? And the last question is for Professor Yuli. As mentioned before at the presentations about startup mentality, what were the pivotal strategies and cultural shifts for us, like future leaders, that allow the organization's members to leverage technology for the organizational growth and innovation? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ataya. If I may answer your question first, let me get it right. You were asking me about an example of a project where science meets arts, right? So I guess it's actually visible in our daily lives. We're actually combining science and arts together for things to work out. For example, if you're looking at video games, right? So you have the hard part of it, which comes from the coding, programming, computer, all that. That is the hard, the science part. And when you want to design a game, you require input from the users. You need to know what are the things or the tasks that you have to do in order for you to make the video game appealing to your likings. And how do you make sure that the video game would actually produce an experience that can never be forgotten by a human? So this is where you actually combine the two of them all together. So that is only one. You can actually look at it from a very different perspective. For example, if you look at telemedicine, okay, now you actually rely, or you can actually do a medical checkup without the presence of a physical doctor, isn't it? So that is another example which I can relate to you in these brief sessions. There are many more. I'm sure if you actually look around and apply what I mentioned, the concept of humanizing, meaning you want to make sure that you have the human character into the technology, so you can would be able to understand the concept. And at the same time, please do not forget that when we expect too much from the technology to provide us with the human quality, we are actually depriving ourselves. Yeah. So we are making, we deprive of our human qualities. We actually rely so much on the technology, and sometimes the things that, for example, simply like, remembering the routes, okay, to your house, for example, you rely so much on technology nowadays, right? You also want to know, okay, if I were to actually follow this route, how many times or how many minutes does it take for me to reach to my house? Okay, if I were to change the route, what will happen, and what are the hindrance, or what are the obstacles that you have to encounter in from going to point A, from point A to point B. Yeah. So that would be my answer. I hope that actually addresses your concern, Ataya.
Yeah, thank you for the answers, Professor.
Okay, we will move to Mrs. Nila for the second question.
Okay, thank you, Ataya. First thing first, that the circular economy requires collaboration. That's the principle. The principle is about the collaboration between some institutions, some person, some for example, with government, with the supplier, and also other business partner. So in this case, that the resource that the small and medium enterprise has acquired, can possess, it's usually limited. So that's why it is needed to have a good strategy. Part of the strategy is, of course, collaboration networking. So in this case, can the entrepreneurs, for example, adopt the circular economy? It is, of course, it's really related to the how smart the person to be involved in which part of the, for example, the supplier chains, yes, the supply chains. So in this case, because the entrepreneurs need to allocate the resource that they have, the limited resource that they have, as the form of commitment and ability to adapt, ability to survive, in a part of the aim to preserve the main business entity. So in this case, need to have acknowledgement, need to have a discussion, need to have a good relationship with other supplier. I think it's too general actually, but we need to still have a lot of research. To some extent, we still, or which subject or in which commodity, for example, to make a good example about this part. I think that's all my answer. I'm sorry, it's not really applicable because it still need to be discussed a lot, in the near future.
Okay, any feedback, Atoya, for this?
Thank you for the answers, Professor Nila. So right now, like SMEs need a collaboration, networking, and more research on the circular economy, right? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And then for the last question to Professor Yuli.
Yeah, sure. I think the question is really about that startup mindset as well. So I touched base in terms of the ecosystems. You need to have the ecosystems. You need to have the personal relationships that can help you to mold your different mindset. But I would like to focus much more on the individual level. So I think it's really important coming from, sort of an Eastern culture for us to embrace criticisms. We are probably quite pessimistic in many things. We are not really open to being criticized. Whereas if you see the domestic Australian students, for example, they are very quick to criticize, but they are also open to criticisms. And because of this, they can shift their mindset very quickly. Oh, you don't really like my idea. That's fine. I'll move on. So for them, it's very quick to transition from one phase to the next phase. Whereas for many of us from the sort of Eastern background, so you talked about the cultural sort of values that we have as well. We kind of like, oh, this person might have criticized me on something. Maybe I've not been working too hard or too well in certain areas. I need to focus on that. So they cannot really move on to different things. So I think that's really important, right? Being open to that feedback, constantly learning, being open to being criticized and criticizing others. And I think that's important as well. Sometimes we don't want to criticize others because others might see us in a different manner. But in organizations in Australia, you openly criticize others, but obviously in a professional manner. You're not bullying others in a way, but you do it in a professional way. The other thing is, I think it's about being comfortable with ambiguity and uncertainty. Things are not certain at all. The things that happened with COVID, even for us in our university, we got locked down. In fact, in Melbourne, we are the only city in Australia that were locked down for 2 years. People couldn't get out for 2 years. You were locked down, right? So everything was so uncertain. It was ambiguous. but you try out to pivot different things that may or may not work, and that's okay as well. So this, is part of this failure as well. The other thing is professional development, and I think this is really important. Just last week, I attended a session on Adobe Acrobat in terms of changing my slides, my teaching slides, to embed Adobe Acrobat to digitally transform my presentations. Now, I'm not an expert in the area, but I'm still learning. But things like this, they are so coming up, emerging very, very quickly. You have to embrace all these different skills as well, not only for you, for your students, for your peers, for your communities. It's also about making that impact around you. So I think my focus will be more on the individual aspect, embracing experimentation, embracing learning, embracing ambiguity and uncertainty, and obviously open to feedback and criticisms as well.
Okay, all right. Is there any feedback from Atai?
Thank you for Professor Yuli for the answers.
Okay, thank you so much. And then we have another question. This is for one of our lecturers for Professor Yuli. So the question is how the new entrepreneur can leave the debt valley of their investment after run their business, and what is the consideration that the business should grab the new strategy for it? Okay.
That's really interesting. It's really depends on the context as well. So I've talked to several entrepreneurs who have failed in their business, obviously depending, in various stages as well. For those early startups, they are easier to pivot to a different context. There are those who have invested a lot of their time, a lot of their efforts, a lot of money as well in their business, and then suddenly, obviously it did not go as well. Now, I think it's really hard for entrepreneurs to actually just change like that, especially if they have invested a lot of their time and efforts into the business. But surrounding yourselves with the right people, with the right community to actually help you, perhaps it's not a failed idea. Perhaps the customer focus is different. So if I could use this example, for example, they came up with an idea, but it was not successful. But after a lot of discussions with a couple of us, we suddenly realized that the idea, it was nothing wrong with the idea. It's the way that you actually market it to your target markets that makes a difference, right? So it's about, your customer base, in a way, segmenting your customers. So coming back to that question about the debt valley, it really depends on which stages you are in and how you actually frame your business. But at the end of the day, it's really important for the entrepreneurs to ask ourselves, why am I doing this? So the purpose needs to be your guiding principle when you're actually coming up with a product. Your purpose, why am I doing this? How am I creating value? Okay, and then you can talk about who are my customers and so on and so forth. Without understanding the why aspect, it's really difficult to go back, to move on as well. So if really your passion is about really that particular area, even though it's a debt valley, perhaps you can frame it in a different way. In terms of, if I could use the example of Netflix. Netflix was a DVD mailing service company for many years, right? And then they stream the movies. It's actually the same concept. They're actually selling the movies in a way, but obviously they sell it in a different way because of the digital transformation that they are embarking on. So it's the same concept, but you tweak it in a different way. So I guess the debt valley concept, I think, is too broad. There are obviously different organizations in different phases.
Okay, all right. That's really a wonderful answer. So it's really more about how do we adapt quickly to the market changes. Okay, thank you. And then is there any other question from audience? We still have time for a Q&A session. Okay, thank you for Bu Ani Rahima. That's for she is asking you the question. Okay, is there any question from the audience? Okay, Mr. Swasta, please.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Professor. Thank you so much for the chance for me to have some question for you. I think this is quite interesting that digital transformation could be covers or include in the digital learning from Professor Noor and for Eco Green for Dr. Mila, and then for the digital transformation aspect to success. I think like this. I'm also research in digital transformation and creative industry Indonesia. I'm a PhD student in Swinburne University near the MIT. And for Professor Noor for digital learning, I think how can the owner or manager of SME something or business can have the digital skill behavior, digital skill and digital learning to how we have digital literacies. So that is I think the critical, the main important of how we can or manager do digital transformation. This is from from Professor Noor. And for Dr. Mila, I think when our friend from previous question talk about this is SMEs to have the business, green environment business, and now how can the big business can help the community, the society, because we know, especially from Indonesia, everyone, maybe mostly people do not have behavior to spread their garbage, become plastic, and then maybe paper, like in Australia. So that's difficult. How the big business can make integration, to make, like in Australia, there is the GG Recharge. This is the big companies, but we know that the government is a lot support, have a lot support to this. So now there is no integration in the government policy about this. So this is very difficult, because from individual home, there is no behavior about this. How can the outcome become circular economy? So for Dr. Nila, and the last one, Professor Ruli, nice to meet you. I think how can we as maybe the Asian culture have like to cooperate each other, but we know that SMEs have a lack of resource. For example, for the mindset for digital transformation or the financial aspect for this, how can maybe government and communities or maybe the other can help to support to conduct the digital transformation of SMEs in maybe the business. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Swasta Priyambada.
Yeah.
I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
Yes.
You are currently in Australia?
Yeah, in 2018 until 2021, but now yes, I'm still revise my thesis now in Indonesia. Yeah, offshore. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Okay, your question is really about digital literacy among the SMEs, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So it's regarding on how do we actually help these SMEs to improve on their digital skills or literacy. Now, previously we focused so much on what we call the concept of digital literacy. Basically, the ability for them to use technology and so forth. So if you actually have listened to Prof. Yuli's presentation just now, new concept has emerged. We call it digital fluency. And it is very much with regards to the technology quotient, meaning how we can actually embrace or technology to these SMEs owners. There are many ways for us to actually improve on their digital fluency, I would say. And it doesn't stop at one point, because I would like to relate back again, digital journey is not a destination. It is actually the whole process. You cannot stop at one point. You really have to be kept abreast with the latest happenings or advancements of technology that is going on around you. Okay, so of course, I'm sure like Indonesia also, we have some programs that we can actually execute or do to attract these SMEs to be more digitally fluent. Okay, we have certain, for example, grants that can be provided for us to make sure that the owners of SMEs are actually enjoying also the technology benefits for them to actually, proceed with their businesses. Yeah. So, of course, when you talk about instilling skills, we can do a lot of things. We can work out with the government to come up with something to ensure that people, the small business owner, will not be left behind with regards to enhancing their skills. Yeah. So we can also work out with the industries that can provide some funds to actually train this SMEs owner with regard to digital fluency, and also offering some of the services that they can use with regards to marketing their product, ensuring that the customers would actually be in constant communication and so forth. So there are many things that we can do for SMEs. Yeah. So that would be my on the surface answer, because if we were to actually jump into more detailed explanation, it can take hours. So I will not also deprive the other questions from the audience. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor.
Okay, next for the second question, Mrs. Nila, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question, Pak Swasta. So we need to think that doing research in the new idea and perspective require more basic research method. Yeah, I mean, in this case, you can use grounded research, for example, by doing qualitative studies, or in quantitative study, you can also, for example, distributing or sharing questionnaires, for example. For social science, it is very common. Actually, please provide more reliable data from the ground, not using the secondary data, for example, from secondary data from a document or from publishable report from the company, for example, because sometimes it is a more we cannot say it is a window dressing, since we actually know that the internal auditor as well as the external auditors already measure the reliability of the data, the validity of the explanation, for example. But of course, because it is a new idea, I think using primary data is more reliable and beneficial to gain a lot of new issue. So if you want to if you want to analyze about the government's policy, you need to have an interview, for example, with the local government or to the SME, whether they have acknowledged about the new social change about this economy. And also for individual or person or employee, for example, you can also take the perspective from the individual perspective about the social change. Of course, this is a lot of effort that we need to spend with it. I think that's all. Thank you for the question anyway. I give it back to Siva.
Thank you so much for the answer, and then we will go for Professor Lily.
Thank you, Pak Swasta. It's really nice to meet you too. So hopefully one of these days we can catch up again in Melbourne or somewhere. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, look forward to and wishing you good luck and all the best for your PhD as well, Pak Swasta.
Thank you.
Your question is about SMEs, right? Obviously SMEs are facing, resource constraints and so on. In fact, I'm actually writing a paper right now. It's in the second stage of revision in the Journal of Business Research, looking at the concept of bricolage. So this is about, having that sort of resource constraints, but not viewing constraints as negative constraints, but it's actually as opportunities to actually revamp your businesses in terms of your business model innovation, in terms of value creation, value delivery, and value capture. But I'm not going to talk about that. I think the focus, the simplest way to answer this is about that connecting SMEs with knowledge networks. I think this is really, really important in the context of Indonesia, in the context of many countries as well. So what we have done in RMIT, we have matching grants, for example, to actually help establish and startup companies. If they have an idea, let's go and see whether we can actually help you to operationalize the ideas. It's a very small startup grant. It's a very research focused in a way to, obviously find out about your customers, about your business models and things like that. So that's one way in terms of connecting SMEs with private, with knowledge networks. I think the other one is about private public sector partnerships. So I've published things on the triple helix, right? So there is an organization, there is university in the case, and there's companies that are, we are codependent on each other. So one organization like SMEs, for example, in this context, cannot survive on its own without the support of the others. It's the same thing. Universities are always very sort of viewed as, ivory tower. You're doing research for you're just writing for the sake of writing. Nobody's actually reading that. But I think we're moving away from that, where it's about creating impact. We want to work with industry. We want to make sure that our research is actually applied. And that's what we do in RMIT. So we have sort of research groups in terms of blockchain. We have research groups. So I am a co-leader of a research group in diversity accelerated innovation and entrepreneurship. So we really want to work with entrepreneurs and even, innovators as well, not necessarily entrepreneurs, companies that are innovative as well. And they are facing challenges because of their diverse backgrounds. And let's work together in terms of collecting data to help you solve the problem. So I think that sort of public-private partnership, it's really important as well. Coming back to that sort of a government sector, I think the government, and it applies to Australian government too. Australian government is not perfect as well. There are so many grants that they are providing for entrepreneurs, but it's very, very difficult to search for these grants. So I have interviewed, so the last interview that I did was number 89, I think, interviewee number 89. And the lady was very interesting when she said that, there are so many opportunities, but I don't know where to search. Because there are so many, X, A to Z, but which one should I focus for my context? And I think, the abundance of it might be good on one hand, but it also makes it difficult for people to search for it. And on the flip side of it, in the context of Indonesia, it doesn't mean that if there is no grants, you can't do anything about it. So there are obviously, smaller scale steps that we can do to promote this collaboration between SMEs and particularly for universities as well.
All right. Thank you so much for a really insightful and valuable answer for all of the speaker. Okay, thank you for your attention, and we have come to the end of our seminar today. And we hope that you have enjoyed this session and gained some valuable insight and knowledge from our speakers. Before we close this session, let me briefly summarize the main points and takeaways from our speakers. from Professor Dr. Nur Ismawati explained to us that technology changes over time and needs to meet people need. And no matter what the technology are, there will always be the benefit and drawbacks itself, and that will impact the human life. And more to this, Professor Nur showed us the humanizing technology is a part of digital journey, and also human plus technology will be also we expect human to be more human, or it will be dehumanize the people's life. And then for Mrs. Nila showed us and explained to us in detail about the difference in linear economy and circular economy, and explained to us about the approach, sustainability perspective, vision, and also business models. And also we gain pictures from Professor Yuli, the different condition of business, for example, a blockbuster versus Netflix, from a very small business to the success one, and vice versa. And there are a lot of companies refuse to adapt with the market changes, and companies need to constantly innovate, adapt, capitalize on opportunities, empowering their employees, and make convenient system for their customer, and also engage in digital transformation like a leadership, HR driven, and then having startup mentality, cultural mindset, and so on. Okay, we also had some lively and interesting discussion and question today from the audience. Thank you very much for your active engagement and contribution. And we would like to thank all of the speakers today once again for their time and expertise. And we would like to thank all of you for joining this seminar today. We hope that all of you learn something new and beneficial from this seminar. Thank you very much, and I will hand it over back to the Master of Ceremony, Elizabeth. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lucifa, and also thank you for today's amazing speakers. Okay, so I think it's time for us to take a picture together. So summoning to all the participants to keep your cameras on. And please do not leave the Zoom meeting because we're not over yet.
This is an example of digital transformation. Look at that.
Exactly.
Wow, it's amazing.
Yeah, suddenly we can see everybody's face.
Yes. All in different places, presumably.
Okay.
Okay, maybe the operator team will help us by the documenting. Okay, so I'll count 1, 2, 3. Okay, another pose. 1, 2, 3. Okay, maybe for the last. Okay. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, thank you for all the participants. And for the next agenda is the most exciting announcement. It is the best presenter, the most active participant, and also the best paper. And I'll start to announce the winners. Starting from the best presenter award is going to Juan Kasma. Please keep your cameras on for Juan Kasma.
Yes, I'm on camera.
Okay, maybe for the operator team can take a pitch for the winners, the best presenter. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, you're welcome. And for the next is the most active participant goes to Ataya Hirzi. For Ataya, maybe the committee will follow you up after this meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And finally, the last but not least is the best paper. There are 2 winners, and without any further ado, I'll read the first winner. The first winner with the title Digital Transformation in Emerging Economics, a Comparative of India, Malaysia, China, and Indonesia by Jingjun Lei Logaiswari Indiran Umar Hayat Abdul Qahar, and Habing Luik. Congratulations to all of you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, just like before, please keep your cameras on, and the operator team will take a picture of 4 of you. Okay, I'll count 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you and congratulations. Okay, for the second best paper goes to the title Predicting Consumers' Attitudes and Behavior Towards Green Practices and Perceived Ecological Image of the Green Restaurant by Ani Rahimah and Eliana Sandi Yuliaji. Congratulations for Bu Ani and Eliana Sandi. Okay. Okay, for Bu Ani and Eliana Sandi, please keep your camera on because the operator will take pictures. Oh, sorry for the first winner of this paper, Logaiswari Indiran, Umar Hayat Abdul Qahar, and Haibing Lui. For all the creator of the paper, right? Okay, for Logaiswari, please.
Hi, thank you very much.
Okay, I'm sorry for the technical. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, for the next, any others to take pictures?
The other 2 team members are not here. Very sorry for that.
Okay, let's move towards Bu Ani and Eliana Sandi. Okay, for Bu Ani, please turn your camera on. Okay, maybe we can do the picture for Eliana Sandi. Oh, so Bu Ani and Eliana isn't available for now. Okay, so that's all for the winners. We are really sorry for any mistake we made, and we extend our heartfelt congratulations to all the winners of BICBATT 2023. Once again, we congratulate to all of you. And for the final segment, we cordially invite Bu Dr. Nur Imamah, SAB MAB PhD, to deliver the closing speech and officially conclude BICBATT 2023. So for Ibu Imamah, time is yours.
Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable, the Chair of BICBATT 2023, Assistant Professor Wiata PhD, Department of Business Administration, Faculty of Administrative Science, Universitas Brawijaya, the Co-Chair of BICBATT 2023, Associate Professor Dr. Ahmad Yusuf, Dean of Faculty of Management, University Technology Malaysia, the honorable speakers, Professor Dr. Siddharth Singh, Director of LJ, Institute of Management Studies, India, Professor Dr. Haibing Liu from Wuhan University of Science and Technology, China, Professor Dr. Nur Ismawati Jafar from Department of Decision Science, University Malaya, Malaysia, Associate Professor Nila Firdausi Nuzula, PhD, from Department of Business Administration, Universitas Brawijaya, Indonesia, and Professor Dr. Yuli Suseno, Deputy of Teen Learning and Teaching, College of Business and Law, RMIT, University, Australia, distinguished presenters, participants, and committees of the Brawijaya International Conference of Business Administration, Taxation, and Tourism, BICBATT 2023, a warm and heartfelt welcome to all of you. First and foremost, let us express our gratitude to the Almighty God, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, for His blessing that have allowed us to organize the agenda over the past 2 days. Ladies and gentlemen, artificial intelligence, called by AI, is not just a buzzword. It's a transformative force shaping our world. As we stand on the threshold of the AI era, its potential is limitless. AI is more than just machines mimicking human intelligence. It's about solving complex problems, automating tasks, and revolutionizing industries. In healthcare, AI aids diagnosis and drug discovery. In transportation, it guides autonomous vehicle. In finance, it enhances fraud detection and trading strategies. AI revolutionizes customer service, making it more personalized and efficient. However, with the great power comes great responsibility. Ethical concern around privacy and bias demand our attention. In the future, AI will continue to evolve, augmenting human capabilities and driving innovation. It's up to us to harness this technology for the betterment of society while safeguarding our values. This year, the BICBATT has the opportunity to bring a conference with a theme driving business creativity through harnessing disruptive technology, opportunities, and challenges, with the sub-themes including generative artificial intelligence and industry, opportunities and challenges, the mechanism of digital technology driving high-end disruptive innovation, humanizing technology, where science meets art halfway, finance and corporate governance, unlocking organizational success, key aspects for driving digital transformation. Beyond our expectation, BICBATT 2023 participated with many participants from Malaysia, Thailand, Taiwan, China, Nigeria, Turkey, United Arab Emirates, and Kyrgyzstan. This demonstrates the high demand of platforms for discussion, collaboration, and contribution. Hoping through this event, the collaboration happens not just nationally, but also internationally. We believe that agility, creativity, and adaptability are the key words as a government, businesses, and academics must be able to explore the possibilities of overcoming various unprecedented situations. On this occasion, I would like to extend my congratulations to the best paper, best presenter, and the most active participant of BICBATT 2023. I sincerely hope that this event has been a great benefit to all of us. Furthermore, I'm proud to inform you that all the accepted and presented papers will be forwarded to be published in Knowledge e-publishing, and also submitted papers will be automatically indexed by several indexers, including Web of Science, Directory Open Access Journals, Google Scholar, Microsoft Academic Research, and others. This indexing will undoubtedly enhance the visibility and accessibility of your valuable research. Ladies and gentlemen, as the head of Department Business Administration, Faculty of Administrative Science, I would like to express my gratitude to all of the committee members who devoted all of the time, energy, and thought contributing to the success of this conference. Also, my strong appreciation for all of us who made this event to engage academic celebration. Again, thank you for your participation in the Brawijaya International Conference on Business Administration, Taxation, and Tourism 2023. We are looking forward for your participation in the next BICBATT 2024. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bu Nur Imamah. So finally, we arrived in the end of the event. Thank you for all the speakers, moderators, and participants for these past 2 days. May this event give us valuable new insights. Until we meet again, I'm Elizabeth Leonie, the Master of Ceremony, officially signing out. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ayo foto. Betul. Betul.